So my name is Bob, and I am looking forward to doing this. It's the first time I'm doing this one this season. This is a lot of fun to do. So I'm just going to take this, just take a moment to say, do make sure you do have some water, a couple of napkins, paper towels or something. I'm going to say try to use cold water. Don't use anything too warm. Actually start to dry the paint in the brush, especially when you use an acrylic. And once again, if you want to put your paint, just arrange it on the plate. Just make sure you give yourself a little space in the center to mix a little bit. I'm going to say blue, white, yellow, and then the red and black for Patchogue-Medford, of course, on the bottom. I just want to say a few things about doing any kind of artwork. And I'm going to say that the most important thing is that you enjoy yourself and have fun. That's the most important thing. And I always say artwork is self-expression, which means no two people ever paint the same. Don't try to paint like me. Don't try and do a perfect replica of what you see here. Do what's natural to you, okay? Don't try and change something up once you have it on your panel. That's something I call your painting fingerprint. Let it happen. Don't overthink. If you have OCD, close your eyes for a few minutes here and there to, if you make a mistake, that actually does help. If you get caught up on anything, that's a kind of funny thing to say, but it really is true. I'm going to be painting right here so everybody will be able to see exactly what's going on. So I'm going to say right now, we're going to start out, I'm just going to kind of do a couple of spots that we're going to block out real quick. So I am going to grab my, my round pointed brush right here, okay? So the first thing I want to do is, I'm just going to wake this brush up. So I'm going to go into the bottom, just give it a little, what I call the Ovaltine stir. Just give it a nice little, right on the bottom, wake that brush up, give it a gentle tap. And when you go onto your napkin, just kind of, just roll it like you're using a rolling pin. Just give it a nice little roll, just so you're drying the metal more than anything else. Also helps you keep a nice pointed brush, which is what we're going to do right now. So I'm just going to start out by grabbing just going to take a little tap of white and maybe a little yellow, and I'll just take my brush and just kind of work my right into some white and yellow. Now I'm just going to do a little bit of a block here, just to block out. I'm just going to roll my brush a little bit, just roll it flat to keep a nice point. Okay, and the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to just block out where our pumpkin is. So I'm just going to start out right now, and it does not have to be perfect by any stretch. All right, I don't want this to go any higher than halfway up my canvas. So I'm not going to worry about the stem or anything like that. I'm just going to block out. So just do a couple of little, I know it's a little bright, and then maybe down. You can push your brush and just block out. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just start out like that. Okay. Okay. Each time, I'm going to load my brush up the same way, grab fresh paint, and just give it a nice little, roll it into the paint flat on your plate. This way you always come at your canvas nice and fresh. Okay, and I'm not taking much yellow at this point. So I've got where my, this is good, this light is actually reflecting off to here very well. So I'm just going to block this out. Okay. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to block out where my sunflower is going to go. So I'm going to come right up here in the top left corner. I'm backwards and upside down, so don't mind me. And I'm just going to do, a circle like that. Start out with. Okay. Okay, and I'm just going to start to block out. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to paint over and around some of this anyway. So I'm just going to come right in here, and I'm just going to, each time I do a petal, I'm just going to bring it to a point and come around here and let each one kind of overlap a little bit. Okay. And just come around. You can let it come right off the canvas. Just drawing some of these out here. If you get a fuzzy or a scratchy feel on your panel, stop what you're doing and grab some more paint. Okay. And just going and drawing some of these petals. Again, don't think too hard, don't try too hard or anything like that. And I'm just going to let these overlap each other and come around. So I've got a nice little block of my sunflower. Ooh. Okay. And I'm going to say that when you're done blocking these two pieces out, I'm going to clean this brush off. So I'll go into my water, bottom of the cup, and I'm going to just stir it up really well. And once everybody is ready to go, woohoo, there you go.
Oh, Bob, we have one comment in the chat. Don't have a name. It's from the Galaxy tab. It says, "Are we starting? I'm confused." I guess they might have missed a moment.
Actually, don't see. Oh, 44. Yes. I see. Let me look on the screen. Where are you? I don't see you. Okay. Yeah, we did start. I don't see the person in the. Okay, I see you. Mariah. So yes, we are starting, and I just started out by using my my pointed brush. I took white and yellow and just loosely mixed it together, and we're just blocking a couple of places out. I went and blocked out where my pumpkin is going to be, and again, we're going to paint around this and then fill our pumpkin in afterwards. Okay, so I'm just going to block this out, and I'm also, I went up and just did a circle, maybe a little bigger than a quarter, and just roughly just placed a couple of petals. And all you want to do is just start on the tip and just work your way in, as long as you've got a nice little point on your petals. And I'm just go around and let each one overlap so there aren't any spaces. It does not have to be perfect or anything like that. Okay, and once you're at this point, we're going to clean our brush. All right, I'll go ahead and do that. Give it what I call a wedding tap and just give it a nice roll. And once everyone is, there we go. Good, 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 good. All right. All right. Once everyone's ready to go. It's funny because the everybody's panel just moved again for some reason. I'm not sure why. When everyone's ready to go, we're going to make sure that brush is clean, and I'm going to go to the flat brush. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Thanks for the thumbs up, Angie. So I'm just going to wake this brush up a little bit so it's not perfectly dry, just a little, dun, dun, dun. Okay. Give it the light tap. Make sure you're not dripping wet. Just go on your napkin and paper towel. And okay, so we are going to do our background. Okay, and at this point, we're going to keep our brush pointed upward. I'm going to have my brush horizontal, pointed upward just like this, and I'm going to try to just pull my brush straight down. I'm going to start to mix, and I'm going to say don't make your mix neat, make it messy. So I'm going to start with white, and I'm using like a sweeping motion. So I'll sweep, grab some white, a little yellow, not too much, and then I'm going to take a pea-sized smudge of red. I'll just tap it in here, and I'm just going to show you that when you take your brush and just kind of drag it like this, you'll see you're starting to get this nice variegated look. Okay, if you start mixing like a pot of sauce or anything like that, you're going to over combine your colors, and you're going to get a solid color rather than this nice little variegated look. So you can take a swipe of yellow, a swipe of red, and I'll just pull. And you can even, as you go, you can take, and I'm going to say a micro smudge of black, which means like one little, like, I don't even know if this is going to show up on camera. Yeah, it's like really, really small. It's really just one little touch. And that one little bit, and just drag this in here. And once I have this mess on my brush, I am going to just find the middle, just go right down the middle, and I'm not going to push that hard. I'll go right to that yellow line, up and down. I don't want to go over the same spot more than once, just going down and then up. And as you do this, you're going to see that your brush will kind of have a mind of its own and just do whatever is inside, which really takes a lot of control away from you. And I kind of like that feel. I'm going to say when you do get a little bit of a scratchy feel, stop what you're doing, load that brush up, sweep that white, yellow, and I'll say sweep, a little smudge of red, right? Maybe even a little more yellow, and a little touch of black. And I'm just going to continue. And each time I load this up, again, it will have its own feel to it. I'm just going right up, all the way down. Gives it that really weathered look to it, which is nice. I'm just, there's a little bit of a glare. Hold on a second. Let me, there we go. There we go. So I'm just gonna have some fun with this. And don't try and always sweep the same exact color together. Just let it happen, whatever it's gonna do. And all I'm doing here is just, again, I'm just dragging my brush through the color. Just dragging your brush through the color. Okay, and all the way down. I'll go all the way down. Don't be afraid to work that brush. I'm just gonna say, try to go from the very top to the bottom. If you can, nice and smooth. If you want to add any kind of highlights or lowlights, you can. There are no rules. Don't think that because something is different that it's wrong. I'm going to say that is definitely your personality coming out on your artwork. I'm going to say, to me, that's one of the most important things. And again, as long as you just drag your brush and sweep your brush through the paint, as you're loading your brush, you're going to always get that nice variegated look. And you just take that brush all the way up, all the way down. This is one of my favorite things to do. I love doing a project like this. And again, each time, just loading that brush up, just pulling it through. Okay, and I'm gonna go from the middle, and I'm going to start to go right around where my flower is. So I'm just gonna take my brush and pull down to the top of my petals, just taking my brush and just pulling down and filling in these spaces here. And if you start to run out of paint when you're pulling in one direction, just flip your brush over and use the other side. Okay, so I'm just going in here and just pulling my brush right to the top of these petals. And I'm just pull right down to these yellow lines. You can pull your brush. If you're having a little trouble getting in some of the spots, you can flip your brush on its side a little bit. You can angle it and pull it. It doesn't take up as much surface area as you turn your brush from horizontal to vertical or skewed, however you want to see it. Okay, like for me right now, I'm just gonna go in here and tap some of this. Right like that, and okay, just fill right around. Nice little flower petals. Ooh. Okay, now for me, what I'm actually gonna do is I'm gonna flip mine like this. And I'm gonna start to work from the pumpkin and just go right in between the pumpkin and my flower petals. And again, when I've got a tight spot like this, I just take my brush and just turn it so it's a little bit more on a skew or an angle. You can even flip it vertical, up and down, however you want to do it. And I'm just going to fill all the way through here. Okay. Always try to end off by keeping your brush strokes nice and smooth. Yay. So for me, I have my background is all pretty much ready to go. Oh. Oh. All right. I'm going to say if you want to add anything, any kind of highlights or lowlights, I'm going to say just be careful. Don't overdo it. And at this point, I am going to clean my brush. Do that Ovaltine stir or Nestle Quick, whatever your, if you don't know what Ovaltine is, I'm going to say I'm sorry. Ovaltine is the best. Showing my age, I know, I'm sorry. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'll just clean this. And the best way really to clean a brush after you use it for a long time, if you, I know I'm kind of showing this off camera, but if you push all the way to the metal and stir on the bottom. It actually releases all the paint from your brush. And then I'll just do a light swirl, gentle tap, and then just go right onto my, my paper towel. If there was anything on your metal, just kind of swipe it off and go back in a second time. Just give it a nice little, just to make sure you don't have anything. Oh, awesome. Yes. Okay. And if anybody needs a little bit more time on that step, let me know. I don't like to leave anybody behind. So if you need more time, just do one of those. All right. Okay. Okay. Yes. So I've got my background. I've got where my pumpkin is. I'm going to block that off and everything. Okay. Oh. Okay. So I'm going to say, in moving forward for the remainder of our artwork, I'm going to just say that depending on your touch, everybody's got a different touch. You can go back and forth between these two brushes. That's not a problem. Don't feel obligated to use something because I'm telling you to do it. Just do what's comfortable. I always say that's the best way to go. So when Angie, are you good? You good? Is everybody ready to go? I see a couple of people still. You guys good? Okay. All right. Awesome. So the next step I am going to do is we're going to start to do our. I'm going to do my pumpkin next. All right, because that's got a nice little surface area to it. And again, if you think of the edge of the brush here, the very edge here, you can just use that hard edge as we're doing our pumpkin. You can push your brush and just go right over the edge and just turn it accordingly and really push it. And as you move into the center, we'll just make sure that our brush strokes aren't so curved. As we work to the center, I'll straighten them out a bit. I'm going to use that same kind of feel of not over mixing the paint as we did with our background. I am going to point out that in this particular painting, this is a really, really, really light colored pumpkin, okay? This is mostly yellow and white. I'm going to say you can do your pumpkin any tone that you like. If you want to make it an orange, a darker orange, you want to keep it light like that, that's fine. I am going to make mine a little bit more on a traditional color today. So, and I am going to use this big brush, like I said. However, you can use a round brush. And what's nice about a round brush, and this is kind of hard to really demonstrate on camera, but when you take a brush like this and you push all the way to the metal, your brush will fan out and you'll get a fairly nice surface area when you go to fill something in. And this gives you a little bit more control as far as how your angles and your curves work. So, like I said, don't feel that you have to use this one. You can go through and say, I don't like this one, and switch. Don't feel funny about it. So I'm going to start mixing. So I'm going to take white. Not much. I'm going to take yellow. And I'm going to grab some red here. And I'm going to say the red, I'm going to say bring it in little by little. Will overpower. I always take like a little smudge on the end of my plate here and just bring it in little by little. Once you add one of these darker colors, it's impossible to take it out. So I always say little by little. I'll do a little smudge there, and I'll just do just little by little until I get the desired color I'm looking for. And I'm not going to overmix this again either myself. I like to keep it rather messy. So I'm just going to bring this in, flip over your brush, make sure that you do grab something somewhat similar on both sides, especially for something like this. Okay. And there we go. Okay. So for me, I've got a nice tone here that I'm happy with. And this is where where I have my my yellow line that we just blocked out. I really am going to just disregard that altogether pretty much, and go outside. And I'm just taking my brush and I'm really, really pushing my brush all the way, all in one shot. So I'm gonna say, try not to do, if you notice like where my finger is right there, that's a brush mark that I'm gonna try and eliminate just by going all in one shot without stopping. You can only smooth out those brush marks when your paint is wet. So if you want, what you can do is go from either end. And if you want to lighten or darken as you go, and I'm going to say, please go right ahead and do so. Ah, there we go. I'm pushing all the way. Work my way back up. So I'm just working from the edges. Okay, and I'm going to work my way into the center. You notice that when I do go, that I do kind of let my brush works up a little higher as I go towards the center just a little bit. Don't be afraid to do that. So as I go on this side. I'm going to start just a little higher. Push. And all the way down and back up. All right. And I don't want my my area to be as big this time, so I won't push as hard. And for this one, I grabbed a little bit more yellow. Why not? Okay. I've got my pumpkin here. All filled in. If you want to add any little reflections, I'm going to say any kind of little reflections you'd like to do. I'm going to say it's probably a little easier to do with that round brush. I'm just kind of almost dry brushing and not even having any paint on here. I just took a little bit of white and yellow. And if you want to add a little bit, add some, just a little reflection, little fun little things. There we go. Yeah. Again, I'm going to say try not to overdo it. And if you want to, you can actually turn your brush vertical and add a little reflection in the notches if you like to do that. And I'm not really going to do too much, just a little bit maybe here and there. Just a little bit. Ooh. And if you want to add any little bit of shadowing, I'll take yellow and red and really make a pretty like dark orange here. You can add some darker tones maybe on one edge here. Maybe on the edges of your little notches. I'm just taking my brush and I'm keeping my brush pretty vertical. If you're using the round brush, if you're using that round brush, you don't really have to do anything except go onto your panel without pushing too hard, okay? And I'm just gonna say when you are done filling this in, we can clean this brush again, whichever one you're using. Woo, I heard somebody has a question. Crystal. I hear I hear somebody. Looks like. Okay. If you do you have a question, Crystal, or you okay?
Crystal was actually just a new entrant into the program, so I think she just came in with her microphone on.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
she has no question. She just wrote in the chat.
Okay,
Thanks for coming, Crystal. Nice to see you.
All right. Yay. So at this point, we Crystal, what we did is my name's Bob, by the way. We just blocked out with just white and yellow, just a rough outline of our pumpkin and a rough outline. You can see the outline is still here for the sunflower. So I took like white and yellow and just did a rough sketch. And then we did that with the round brush. And then I went and took the flat brush and without over mixing your color, we took, you don't want to stir, you want to actually just sweep. And as you do so, you'll see you get like you get a variegated, I'll just point this out on my plate. I'm going to take white, yellow, a micro smudge of red, and maybe a small little smudge of black. And just take your brush and just sweep through on both sides, and you'll get this nice little variegated color. And we'll just take, you just take your brush and just pull down from the center to those lines, okay, and fill in all around our subjects, okay? So the next thing we're gonna do, once everybody is caught up, make sure your brushes are clean. And I didn't do a good job with this one before, did I? No. Ooh. Okay. So we are going to go on to, we're gonna go on to our sunflower. And of course, we're going to use this round brush. Make sure that brush is clean. Stir it up on the bottom of the cup. Give it a gentle tap, and then just roll it flat like you're rolling dough, just to keep the metal dry and keep your point nice and controlled. Okay, So yeah, I'm going to fill in my sunflower. I'm going to use the white and yellow. If you want to, you can take a small little swipe of red or even black, as long as it's a micro swipe, small little amounts. You can add in. You could also do it afterwards. So I'm just going to load this brush up. Okay, and where am I? I'm lost. This is where I am. There I am. Okay, so I'm just going to go right ahead and go right over these edges and fill in my petals. I start at the tip and work my way into the center where the seeds are going to go. Again, don't be afraid to change up your tone. And I'm going to say I am overlapping into my background. And I'm just pulling from the edge and then filling in towards the center. You want to take a little swipe of your pumpkin color. You could take a small little dab of it as you're going along, and don't always think about your lines. It's just a guide at this point for just leaving part of our canvas a little blank. Okay. And just going around, filling this in. I'm going to say, you'll notice that I have a petal that goes completely off of my artwork, and that is okay. Nothing wrong with that. Always just pull your way in towards your center. Now fill in these petals. Try not to overthink it. And again, make sure that you go outside the lines a little bit. Don't be afraid to go outside your original lines. Always swipe your way in towards the middle where the seed pod is. If you go over those edges a little bit, don't even worry about it. We're going to be filling that in with a darker color, which will cover this up. That'll be the last thing we do in here. I'm just going in and finishing this up here. Okay, so at this point, everything on your canvas should be covered except for this, where your seed pod is in the middle, your flower seeds. All right. And when you're done with that step, I'll just, you don't have to go crazy cleaning your brush, but I will go into the water and just get some of that off. Make sure that you give it a nice little roll flat. Okay. And once everyone's ready, we'll go into our seed pod and fill that in. All right. Yay. All right. Woo. So as far as the outline, we'll do that. We'll do that in a little while. I do want to get the center of our seed pod done. So I'm just going to ask, does anybody need any more time? Everybody good? Good, 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 good. Awesome. Okay. All right. So again, the next step is going to be something I'm going to say you don't want to be too neat about it either. Again, using this round pointed brush, I'm going to take red and black, and I'm just going to kind of stir them together here. You're going to get something of a burgundy. This should be like a really, really dark burgundy color. It's like 50-50 red and black. Okay, and it really is a true burgundy. Okay. Now, to make yes.
I'm sorry. There's a chat. Liz H is asking for a little more time.
Liz H?
Yeah,
sure,
Liz
sure,
asking
of
for
course.
A little bit more time.
Sure, of course. Let me see. Yay. Liz, just give me a thumbs up when you're ready to go. All right. And we're going to do this more than once doing this color. We're going to make a brown.
She says she's all good.
Okay.
And she's loving the painting so far.
Yay. Awesome. This is a fun painting. I mean, technically, there's really nothing that difficult. What I love about something like this, it is there's a little bit of sketching involved, but there's a certain amount of improv that goes along with this one too. Is what I really like about this myself, especially being a musician as well. You know, that kind of goes hand in hand. So I'm starting out by making a burgundy. I'm taking red and black, and it's like 50-50, and you're going to get this burgundy color. To turn this into a brown color, I'll take a small amount of yellow, like really not that much. If you take too much, it's going to look green, all right, which we'll talk about later. So I'll say bring it in until you see a nice little color that resembles snack pack, chocolate pudding, or something like that. Jello pudding, whatever it is that you, all right. If you take too much red, it will look like a pink, okay? So just take that yellow, bring it in, just swirl it around. Once you see that chocolate pudding color, I'm gonna say you're good. Okay, so I'm gonna start with, the base of my brush is, it's a true brown, okay? So I've got my brush. I'm going to say load that brush up almost to the metal, okay? And I'm going to take my brush, and I'm going to just find a clean spot, and I'm just going to dab my brush. I'm just doing a dab. And what this does is it relaxes the tip of your brush. So it's messy. It's not pointed any longer, okay? Once you get a nice little scatter on your plate, I'm actually going to do a very light little tap into black. Just one little, and all I did was just do one little, bam, and just tap my brush. So to do the seed pod, I've got a dark brown color, and I'm going to start out by just tapping, and I'm going to start in the middle, and I'm going to spiral my way by just tapping around here, and I'm going to probably not load my brush up at all. I'll do it once, and I'll just go outside, spiral away, and make sure that as I go, you're going to get a very nice scattered brush stroke that looks like a nice little sunflower center. You can see I'm not really, when I get out to the end, I don't have a lot of paint on my brush any longer, and I'm just working my way, just kind of pushing it, push, push, push. And I'm overlapping into, there's still a little bit of a glare, I don't know why. And I'm getting a nice little fuzzy, scattered edge. See, there we go. Just like that. You notice I did leave a couple of spots blank. I could fill those in, I could leave them, you know, and that's really, really up to you. If you want to give this a little bit of a shadowing, you can just tap straight into black, dab your brush on the same spot. So I've got a little bit, and I'm going to very, very lightly just tap through the middle a little bit, just to give it a little darker tone. I'm not going to go out all the way, just a little bit. This is a subtle one, just to give it a little bit of a variation. And I'm going to say, as you work your way out, I'm just going to very, very gently, barely even touch, just light, light, light. Okay. If you do want to add a little bit of some white back into this, you can do so after this dries. I'm going to suggest that you let this dry, maybe a little bit towards the end. When you are done with the seed pod, we'll clean this brush. Start on the bottom of your cup. Okay, stir. Give it that gentle tap, and then just roll it out. Boom, boom, boom. So we got a nice point back on our brush. All right. All right. Is everybody enjoying themselves? Woohoo! Yay! Awesome. Awesome, awesome. That's the idea. Okay. So I'm going to let my sunflower sit for a couple of minutes. I am going to go on to my pumpkin. So I'm going to do the stem. All right. So while we've got this little bit of this brown that we made up here already, I'll just load my brush up with this, but instead of taking my brush and tapping, we're going to just, you know, paint how we were, just using a regular brush stroke. If you need to make more, again, we've got red and black, virtually 50-50. Stir and spin, and just bring that yellow in little by little. If you want to make this a little bit more on the green side, rather than that brown, brown, brown color, you can. And I'm going to do that right now myself. I'm bringing in more yellow than I did on my seed pod. I'm going to give this a little bit of a, I'll show you right here, that color. Not a very attractive color, but you know, it works. And I'll take maybe, again, I'm going to drag my brush through here, make sure I don't have, you know, anything too neat. I like to keep my brush pretty messy. Don't ask me to paint your house, your interior, anything like that. It's not going to look the way you expect it to. Okay. So I'm going to do my stem now. Is everyone with me before I go on? We're good? Okay, awesome. All right. So no two stems are ever the same. I'm just going to explain this. So all I want to do is just make sure that it's not too neat. So I've got my nice stem here, and I'm going from outside, and I'm going to just pull my brush down. You can, on the ends, I just curved it in a direction, and all I'm going to do is just take my brush and pull my way down, and just fill this in. And just straighten it out a little bit, maybe. And as I'm going into my pumpkin, I'm doing that same kind of, where I'm letting my brush kind of scatter outward a little bit as I get to the end. Do like just a little bit, almost like feathering. I'm going to say, don't try, just do. I'm going to say things are only as difficult as you let them be. Okay. So I've got my nice little stem here. I'm not going to overdo it. Nice and easy. If you want to add, I took white and yellow. If you want to add a little bit of highlight, I just took white and yellow and put it right on top of my collar here. And I'm just kind of from the top here, just kind of pulling down a little bit, maybe just giving it a little bit of, a little grain. Not really thinking about it or anything like that. Just following my brush stroke. Doesn't matter. Very, very subtle. It doesn't even really show up on, does it? Yeah, a little bit, it does. Okay. Okay, so I'm also gonna say that we know that the vines sometimes have those little curlies, so I'm just gonna clean this off here. And maybe I'll do a couple of these little curlies, these little bits of vine. And I'll just clean my brush off, give it a gentle tap, do a gentle roll. And if you want to do one of these little corkscrew things, I'm going to just go into just black. And I'll just touch straight into black. Just a very, very little bit, one little touch, boom. And it's just nice and tight, okay? One thing I'm gonna say about a round brush, one of the things you can't do is just try and go in a circle like this. Whee! What happens is when you go in two different directions with a round brush, you go from pushing your brush to pulling. When you pull, it drags behind itself. It will open up and you get that instead of getting a nice clean line, you get fuzz. So when you are going to do, just make sure that you lift up before you change directions. Okay, so I'm gonna add maybe a little curly, wavy little vine right here. So I'm just gonna start out here and just do a little bit of and I'll lift when I go to change directions. Right? And okay. There. If you want to do one of these, I'm gonna say go right ahead and just have some fun with that. Don't get too crazy. Don't overthink it. Okay. Ooh, yeah. All right. Kind of darken mine up a little bit. All right. So we've got a couple more things to go. We've got a couple of leaves here on our pumpkins that if you'd like to do, we can do that right now as well. Okay. Is everybody with me? I see we lost a couple of people. Did we? Okay. There we go. Hello. All right. So we are going to we're going to do a couple of leaves if you'd like to. I'm going to say that pumpkin leaves are extraordinarily sloppy. They are not neat. They're very, very bizarre looking leaves, that's for sure. So I'm going to do a green. If you want to do a traditional blue, yellow kind of green like that, you can. I'm not going to do that, though. I'm going to do a different family of green. I'm going to do yellow. Yellow, black, a little black, not much. Yellow, black, and maybe a little white. Yellow, black, does an entire family of greens that are just so beautiful, especially for this time of year. I got this green right here just by taking a little black, boom, just a little bit, and bring it in little by little, grab a little white, and it's gorgeous, beautiful color of green. Oh, I love it. And again, I'm going to make sure, always do little by little with the black. Make sure that you load your brush up fairly well. I heard that. Was that a...
Oh, it's me. I'm sorry. I have parent-teacher 4 things going on right now. What was that with the green? I'm so sorry. What did we miss?
No, don't be. So what I was saying was if you want to do a blue, yellow, green, you can. However, I did a green that's completely different. It's yellow, a little black, and white, and it gives you these wonderful greens for this time of year instead of the blue and yellow green. You can try it and, you know, compare them, you know. Okay?
Yellow, white, and blue?
It's you can do yellow, blue, and a little white, or you can do like what I did here. Give it a try. It's yellow, a little black, and white. And I'll bring the black in little by little.
Okay.
And swirl it around. Okay. All right. And again, I'm loading this brush up. Really loading this brush up. You can take a little extra black and white. And I always make sure my brush is not that neat. Okay. Okay. So what I'm going to do for my leaf, I want to keep, I like to have them kind of scattered around a little bit. So if you notice, I have my brush kind of pointed upward. Okay. And I'm also going to keep my brush fairly perpendicular. I'm going to keep it pretty flat and almost use my brush like a spatula in a way, okay? And I'm just going to start out by just kind of rubbing my brush. And as I work my way down, I'm just going to, instead of rubbing hard, I'm going to let it kind of just fade away. Okay? So I'm using my brush almost like an eraser and just rubbing. And you'll notice I have one flat edge, and I'm just pulling away just from this one edge. So this will be one half of my leaf, and then I'm going to go ahead on the other side of this and do the same thing. And just let it kind of fade away. You notice that I have more than one point. You can do that, especially with pumpkin leaves. They don't know what they're doing. They're all over the place. That's what I love about them. They're always so interesting. Right? These are so much fun to do. As long as you're going, I'm just taking my brush and I'm just kind of rubbing. And as I work my way down, I just kind of just let it fade away. And then I go on the other side and do a mirror image. Just let it kind of fade away. This is a lot of fun to do. And again, just keep in mind that I'm the way I'm using my brush is almost like an eraser. I'm doing a rub, and I've got my brush flat up against. Now, I'll do another, maybe I'll do another leaf. I'll do another leaf. Let's see, maybe I'll go over on this side. And again, I'm just gonna keep my brush flat and just rub and just let it fade away, and just like that. And then I'll go from that same spot there and never do two leaves the same. Just a lot of fun to do. This is a technique that's very similar to if you've ever seen anybody use a palette knife, where they take the knife and you just kind of scratch a little bit. I'm doing that same basic feel with a flat brush. It does work, and it's definitely gives you some pretty cool results. Try not to go over it too many times. So I've got like a couple of leaves here that are just nice and fun, okay? And after I do a couple of leaves, there's one more like minor little thing that I do like to add in. There is, I don't know if you can see, there is a stem for the sunflower. You can do it the same green, or you could do it more of a yellow-blue green if you like. I'm gonna keep it with this fall green. It's like almost like a mix of an olive. Okay. And before you clean your brush, I'll just take that and I'm just going to go right in between, like maybe I'll just go right in here and just take my brush and just touch it right into the stem, a very point between two of your petals, and just go right outside off the canvas. This is a very, very minor little step. Well, I got it. Okay. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and clean my brush. Just wait for everybody to catch up. Oop, that wasn't such an easy tap. I just got water all over the place. Oh well, that's fun. Give it a nice little roll. Nice, freshen brush. Oh man. All right.
I'm such a perfectionist. I have to get it all clean. See?
Oh, that's great. Just keep in mind, one of the things that you do not want to do with a round brush is take a napkin and go like this with it to dry it or anything like that, or any of these things. It releases the brush over.
What? That's why you're the expert.
You always want to take it, just put it flat and roll it like you're rolling a rolling pin. Just that kind of thing. Keeps your brush nice and sharp. after you come out of your water. You can also kind of
Okay.
pull it towards itself like this just to keep the point. But I see a lot of people, they do this. This turns your brush into a spatula, kind of flattens it out into almost like what they call a filbert brush, essentially, which is one of those little rounded tip brushes. You lose your point. You lose your pencil point. Okay. If you do, if that happens, just go into your water, give it a little jiggle, tap, and do the old.
Can I show you my water?
That's really bad. No, don't drink it. I don't know what kind of paint you guys got, so I don't know how terrible it's going to taste. Oh my goodness. All right, so just give me a thumbs up when you're ready to go. Awesome. I'm going to say most times people don't drink the paint water anymore. What I'm seeing just about on a daily basis is somebody going into their beverage and cleaning their brush. And, you know, no matter how many times I say, don't clean your brush in your beverage, yeah, it happens a lot. I don't say anything anymore. I just let it go, you know? So, tastes like bad vodka. That's all I'm going to say. But it won't hurt you. Okay. I wouldn't suggest doing it just to experiment either. At least not now. Maybe if you want to do it later, that's fine. All right. So, all right, I'm going to let that kind of sit for a moment. We're going to go back to our, you know what we're going to do? We're going to do our little blackbird. This guy, this is not a real blackbird. Obviously, this is a little, this is a wooden decoration that I've had for a really long time. It's a wood carving, and I just love the way it breaks the whole thing up. You know, it's just so neat. So, yay. I am going to go ahead and do that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. So I'm just going to kind of do a little bit of a rough sketch of our blackbird. I'm going to say, like for me, I have him on this side here between my sunflower and my pumpkin. Doesn't look like I have all that much space over here for him. So I'm actually going to put him right over here. All right. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put them on the other side. So look and see what kind of real estate you have on your artwork and just take it from there. I'm going to do a rough sketch first. So just keep in mind when you do sketch, especially something that you're going to do in black here, make sure you just don't go swipe, 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 swipe. You should do a long continuous brush stroke. Okay. And don't do one of these or something like this. Don't try and come at your artwork like you're shooting darts at a dartboard. I always say to people, the pinky method works, where you take your pinky and just touch it to your the painting surface, whatever you're painting on, and just drag your brush. Not so much with your wrist, but just move your arm. So I'm going to start out, and I'm just doing a gentle push into the black. Okay? All right. You run out of paint, stop, load it back up, and just backtrack, rewind a little bit, and continue. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and for me, like I said, I'm going to put mine right over here. So I'm going to do the top of my blackbird. All right, let me get a little closer. And the top is it's pretty straight. So I'm just going to start out, and maybe I don't want to go up too high either. I'll go maybe over here. And you'll see that I really am just dragging my pinky. Okay. And the line I'm doing, it's not that long. I'm just doing the top of the main part, and then I'll do the tail afterwards. So I'm almost doing like almost like a lemon slice. So I'll come down and just do like a lemon slice. And you'll see I'm not pushing my brush that hard. Again, I'm keeping my brush pretty much straight on. When you take your brush and you're straight on like this, your brush, you pretty much have a really, really small painting surface. But as you angle your brush, you get more and more and more, okay? So try to keep your brush pretty flat, just the very, very point. So I'm just going to do something of a defining line for his beak. So I'm just going to go in here and just do that one little line right there for his beak. Okay. And I'm just going to take a couple of little lines that come down for his little legs. Okay, so I'll go, let me see, can you guys see? Yes, you can. Right in the middle, right to the top of the pumpkin, just so he's got somewhere to stand. Yay! Okay. All right, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and do a couple of little decorative tail feathers. So I'm just gonna come down from the very corner here and just come down and do like a little arrow like that. And I'll do a couple of these, maybe 2 or 3 that just point into the same spot here. Like that, almost like a bow. You can leave it at 2. You can put a 3rd in if you like. And it's all just kind of pointing in at the same spot. Right. Okay. So I'm going to go right ahead and I'm going to start by filling in these little decorative feathers here. You can do them however you want. I always suggest trying to trace on the inside of the shape just to give yourself a little bit of a means of doing this. And I'm just doing a nice little push with my brush. Boom. Okay. So I'll do the 3 little decorative feathers. Yes, there we go. Let's trace on the inside. Uh-oh. There we go. Mm-hmm. And then I'll fill in his body. I'm just going to leave this little spot here blank, right? Okay. We're going to do a few more things with the black before we clean our brush off. So when you are done with this step, don't clean that brush, let it be. Okay. Oh, I got this guy all filled in, ready to go. I am going to do a couple little, just going to trace around a couple of things before I finish up with the black. All right. So I've got my little bird all ready to go. Okay. If your brush is starting to fray on the end and isn't really pointed, stop. Go into your water, stir it on the bottom, that Ovaltine stir that we were talking about earlier. Give it a nice little tap. Give it the roll and just load that brush back up again. Don't argue with your brush if it starts to get a little funky. Woo-hoo.
Are we cleaning brush?
We are going to continue with the black. If your brush
Okay.
if your brush needs to be freshened up and it's a little tacky or anything like that, yeah, go ahead, clean it off. That's fine. No worries on that. But we are going to continue with the black. Does anybody need any more time with this step? Are we good? That's a little bit of busy work, so I think, but it's not that big of an area, so we should be okay. Okay, so I am going to go ahead and I'm going to trace around my sunflower. It does not need to be perfect or anything like that. I am going to say though, that whole, you know, making sure that you have a nice amount of control with your brush. Try not to use too much of a wrist flick or anything like this. I'm going to say just if you want to trace around here, just go here and doesn't even need to be solid. Okay. Ooh. Uh-oh, what happened? Why did I lose my connection?
Bob, are you there?
I am.
Okay.
Ooh, hold on. Why am I?
Uh-oh.
Hold on.
Can still hear you, just can't see you. Oh, now we can.
Right. I just switched cameras.
There he is.
I have more than one camera. The other one, I don't know why it just shut off for some reason, but I got a backup. Just a little different bit of an angle. So, all right. Sorry about that. Could you guys hear me speaking or no?
We could hear you.
Oh, okay, good.
We
All
just
right.
lost.
So,
we just lost video for a little bit.
Okay, but you can still hear me though, yeah?
Yep.
Okie dokie. I don't know what happened. It's still spinning. I have no clue why. All right. So again, I'm just going around and I'm just going to show you that I'm not, it does not have to be perfect or anything like that. I always start a little bit on the end. Right on the tip and just go right around here. Don't be afraid to do what I'm doing, how I'm turning my my canvas here. Don't be afraid to do that. Okay. Yeah. Probably for me, especially painting upside down, Probably the easiest way to do it. And I'm just going through here and there we go. Okay. That was strange. Back to camera one. I'm also going to say that one little bit around my my stem here, I'm going to do that too. It just gives it a little bit of a contrast. Okay, so I went around my sunflower, just traced around it loosely, nothing serious. Okay, don't go crazy. I also like to give just a final little, just a little bit. I always trace around and I'll do like a little stem from my pumpkin stem to my leaf. So once I'm done with my sunflower and just going around over here, I am going to just trace around this, and I'm going to let it be as sloppy as which I like to do. You'll see I really sloppy, very shaky. However it goes, I always like to just let it happen. Whatever my brush did before, I follow it. I like those edges. And you'll see when you look at the two, it gives it a nice little finished look, which is really nice. And then I'm just going to go right ahead from my stem and just do a nice little right down my leaf. And I'll do the next one. Yay. Right. Nice little edging right around my leaf here. I love doing this. This is so much fun. And like I said, the mess here, don't try and be neat about it. Right? Woohoo! All right. So, oh, wow. Yay. That's really, really, really nice. So we've got a couple little finishing touches to do. I'm going to say I do want to fill in, when you're done with this, if you do want to add, any text, you can do that now while you have the black, or you can do that at the very, very end. For me, I'm going to do that at the end myself. So I'm going to clean my brush off, and I'm just going to fill in my bird's beak. I'm going to take just white and a little yellow, okay? And just do a couple of these little finishing touches. I got a nice clean brush, white and yellow. And I'll load this brush up a little bit more. Probably pretty much to the metal, even though I'm not doing a large area here. I do want to make sure that I get good coverage. So I'm just going to take the point of my brush and put it right in the point of the beak. Like this, just point it right in. And I'll just trace on the inside here. And at this point, I'm really just tinting over what I have. It's not really so much a completely solid cover. It's just enough to give it a nice clean separation. You can see that. It just smooths it out a little bit. Okay. Which is really nice. While I have this, if you want to add any highlights on your sunflowers, on your petals, I just did that myself. A couple of little highlights. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but it's there. I'll do a clean, nice little roll. And the last bit I'll do on my bird, I'll just go straight into white. If I'm moving too fast, I'm just doing a couple of little small steps. And I'm just going to take a touch of white after I clean off that light yellow. And I'm going to just give my blackbird an eye. So I've got the tip, and I'm just going to do a nice little touch and just a little rub like that. Woohoo. Okay, so again, when you are finished with that, I'm going to say the last thing we'll do is, if you want to do any kind of writing, you can. If you want to do any kind of text. You can even take some of this letter, add some of those highlights in again if you like. Okay. Okay, so in this one here, there is there's some black edging in the pumpkin itself to finish it off. There's some around the stem and around the pumpkin. If you like your appearance of your stem and your pumpkin, I would say let it be. I personally like how mine looks at the moment, so I'm going to let it go. If you want to do a little bit of an edging in the black and maybe some of the notches in black, I'm going to say go right ahead. Like I said, I'm going to leave mine because I like how it looks today. If it's not broken, why fix it? All right. So the last bit, I'll just talk through one more time. I did just white and a little yellow and filled in the beak, okay? And took a little of that and maybe did a little bit of a highlighting in my petals, and then cleaned that off, took a little bit of white and gave it a little bit, just a little touch, okay? And if you do want to edge your pumpkin, that would be the time to do it. You can do it a little bit of black. With that, I'm going to say that the last thing we are going to do is, if you want to, I always do like a nail type of font, but you can use any type of font you like to write Happy Fall or anything that you would like to to write welcome fall or however you want to do it. So I'm going to say we'll do that now, and I'm also going to take the opportunity to sign, which I'll do on the bottom here. I'll just write my name down here. All right. And I'm just going to say once again, when you're using this brush, that you one thing you want to avoid is trying to go in a full circle like this. You will go from pushing to pulling. Your brush will drag open on the way back. Okay, so if you're going to do anything with a circle, you do want to just lift before you go in the other direction. Okay, so that will be the last step, is doing some of our text here. This is the only thing I can't do upside down and backwards is write. So I'm gonna actually hold it up and do it right up here. All right. So for me, I always just sketch it out. Kind of just a nice clean font. I'll do like the H. I will dress that up, of course, afterwards. And I'll just sketch out the letters. And then get fancy afterwards. Right? I'm just going in here and just doing a little bit of writing. Woo. You see, when I go to do like the circle for the A that I do, I always lift my brush to avoid my brush from dragging. Okay, so I've got my wording. So now I'll fancy it up a little bit, and I always I always do it the same. I'm very predictable. I'll just trace right over this. Just add a little bit of make it a little fancy. But you can do it however you want. You can do it as a scroll. Like almost follow. The shape is very similar, and I particularly like it. The shape of the feathers and the blackbird. But that's just me. I kind of do it like that. So I am going to finish off. Just finish off my wording here. Ooh. I'm just having some fun with it. Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. I'm just finishing mine up right now.
Hey, I have to go, but I just want to show you what I did.
Oh,
I didn't write
okay.
I didn't write the happy fall, but
That's okay. Wow, that's wonderful.
thank you.
Nicely done. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
I did. Are you gonna come again?
I hope so. I'll have to get back with the library and see what the schedule is,
Okay.
and we'll take it from there. But
Thank
yeah,
you so much.
you're quite welcome. It was a pleasure.
And I'll definitely give the library some feedback.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a blessed day. Bye.
Thank you. You too. All right, folks.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me for this session. And I like to show my picture, but I can't get my name to come up.
Oh. You can't get your name to come up?
No, it says participants. Is that where I go to?
I think all you have to do is just
Liz, if
hold it
you
up.
want to hold up your picture and maybe say something, I think you're going to show up on screen because I think we can see you when you're talking.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe so. I'll have to be quiet.
Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it.
Great. Oh yeah. Very nice.
Thank you.
Nice.
Wow, that's
Thank
wonderful,
you.
Liz.
Thank you for having me here. I appreciate it.
It was a pleasure. Very nicely done. Great job.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you so
You
much
put
for
the year on
coming.
it too. Good. Wonderful.
Okay, you have a good night. And I will see you maybe next time when you have another drawing session or a painting session.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me this evening.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yay. Oh, Liz, that's really nice. Oh, that's wonderful. Yay. Liz and H. Oh my goodness. Nicely done. Woo. That's great.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are welcome. All right.
Here we are.
All right, Kathy and the crew. Oh, wow.
Done. Came out great. Thank you.
Thank
This
you.
was awesome.
Yay.
Loved it. Nice de-stressor at the end of the week. I love it.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Oh, Katie.
Welcome. Very nice. That was a good
Thank
idea.
you.
I
Have
love
a good night. I had fun.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
You're welcome. All right. Let's see. Where are we? Oh, Allison. Wow, nicely done. Woo. Yay. Oh, wow, that's really, really nice. Wonderful, that leaf. Mm-hmm. Yay. Awesome. All right, Elizabeth. Yes. Wow. That's you made it, Jacqueline. I love it, buddy. That's really, really great. Nicely done, guys. I hope you had a great time.
So I have to go, but I didn't know we had to do a pumpkin. I just did a fall thing. You can see it.
Yay! That's
Nice.
awesome, Mariah. That's wonderful. You did a whole patch that's really, really pretty. Good for you.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Bye.
Bye. Good night.
Awesome.
All right. Woohoo.
Wow. I think everyone had a great time.
Yes, indeed. That was good. Good session.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna stop recording. Unless Liz H is still here, do you have any questions for Bob?
Yes, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you do any other classes like this anywhere on YouTube or online?
Me personally, I don't do anything that I put on YouTube typically. I really haven't had the time.
Okay.
The company I work for is Happy Little Brushstrokes. We're a mobile paint and set. We go to locations, people's homes,
Okay.
and stuff like that. Yeah. If you'd
Okay,
like to look
great.
us up.
Yeah, hopefully there's another one like this through the library. We enjoyed. Thank you again.
Wonderful. Yes, indeed.
Thank you. Have a great night.
You too.
Bye.
Good night.